So Star Wars The Force Awakens is finally here, and pretty much nearly everyone's watched it, but I just wanted to talk about it because it's Star Wars. So obviously from like my posters and stuff, Star Wars is one of my favourite things ever. It's one of the best films ever made. Everyone knows this stuff, okay. This video is going to be just like my first sort of impressions at first. No spoilers or anything, just my general thoughts on the film in case you haven't seen it yet for some reason. I don't know if I'm going to do this video in two parts or not. Afterwards I'm just going to be talking for a very long time, like a million hours, all the spoilers, and just talking about Star Wars for a very long time because that's all I want to do. So my general summary of this film is it was very good. Best part was Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Second best part was Daisy Ridley as Rey. Slight change in camera angle. It's not a flawless film by any stretch, but really no film is. Every single film has its problems. Good points about the film. So the acting was pretty phenomenal from everybody. Harrison Ford was my favourite part, but Daisy Ridley, like, I mean, they must have auditioned thousands upon thousands of women and they picked her, so she had to be good. Like, if her performance was bad, then the whole film would have failed completely. But she was excellent and almost, dare I say, Oscar worthy. Like, I mean, she truly was. For the amount of pressure that was on her for the role and what she did, you know, her range, she was funny, she was emotional when she had to be, you know, and she's the best female character in any Star Wars film, and, you know, arguably one of the best characters in any Star Wars film. And everyone else was really good too. John Boyega, who I think most people were suspecting was going to be the main character, he wasn't, but he was also really good. He was funny, you know, they humanised stormtroopers, he was a stormtrooper, and he was a great addition to the film, as well as Poe Dameron, played by Oscar Isaac, who, him and John Boyega, they had great chemistry together in my favourite scene in the film, which I'll talk about more in the spoiler section. But yeah, Harrison Ford as Han Solo, I mean, incredible. Like, the fact that Harrison Ford so easily went back into the Han Solo character was just wonderful to see from a nostalgia point of view, and, you know, an acting point of view. You know, every film I've seen Harrison Ford in the last sort of 10 years or so, you know, he never looks like he enjoys being there, but he loved this. And, you know, it wasn't just he was Han Solo again, he was Han Solo but older, and it was brilliant. Like, to me, Han Solo was the best hero character in film ever. He's my favourite hero character, and after this film he's surpassed that. He's now the best film hero of all time. He was superb. One of the things that really interested me to see this film, besides it being a new Star Wars and I was going to see it regardless, was it was the first time I was seeing a Star Wars film with adult eyes. Like, the first time I saw a Star Wars film was The Phantom Menace when I was about 6 years old, and I thought it was the best thing ever because, you know, I'm 6 years old and I'm an idiot. I don't know what I am at that age. And then it wasn't till I was maybe 8 or 9 when I watched A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, all on the same day or a day after one another. Anyway, but this was the first time I was watching a new Star Wars film with, you know, a more developed mind, and I knew what a bad film was compared to a good film. You know, I recognised that the prequels are bad now that I'm older. All of them, they're all really badly written, badly shot, badly CGI'd, pretty much bad everything. And I recognise what's so good about the original films. So that was one of the things I was intrigued by in this film. And after I saw the film and I knew that I liked it and it was good, and I thought, well, how much of that is me using my brain to judge the film, and how much is it of me using my heart and my nostalgia, which is, you know, the most powerful thing ever, nostalgia. And I think the quality of the film does overshadow nostalgia, because I remember thinking earlier this year, okay, if Star Wars is bad, at least I've got Spectre to go back to. Those are the two films this year I was looking forward to the most. Reflecting on it now, it's so strange that I was so confident in Spectre. I thought, oh, if Star Wars is bad, James Bond will save the day. I was so confident in Spectre being that good, and then Spectre really disappointed me. I was I didn't really like that film at all, to be honest. And you know, I'm a fan of James Bond, but admittedly probably not as big as a fan as I am of Star Wars. That was like a little example to myself why this film wasn't just purely a nostalgia fest. Also again, another example, Jurassic World was a film that used really only nostalgia to bring in its audience, and it did its job well in that respect. But this film, there is nostalgia in here, of course there is. It's unavoidable in any film franchise. The Hobbit does it, James Bond does it a lot, Star Wars does it, every film franchise. And those nostalgia things are great, and they're some of the most memorable parts of the film. But there's enough blend of new stuff there to give it that fresh feel. Just the moments of direction are what give it a fresh taste. There's so many shots, camera movements and various things where you just know George Lucas would have never done that. There's long takes where you soak up the action. It is not just a nostalgia fest. Okay, I'm going to quickly talk about some problems without spoiling anything, and then I'm going to go deep into the spoilers. So problems with this film, and I do have problems, like fairly big ones to be honest. So yeah, the villains in this film, there's a lot of mixed feelings about them. Alright, without spoiling anything, I thought Kylo Ren was great, but I can also see why people don't like him. Supreme Lord Snoke was my least favourite part of the film. I'll talk more about him in the spoiler review. Captain Phasma, who was, shown quite a lot in the trailers, she does fuck all in this film. Like, she has like 3 lines and really does nothing. And that's the side of Star Wars I don't want to see. Like, she was a toy. She was only put in there for a cool toy, and that is something that we got too much of in the prequel films, and I don't want to see come back, so less of that please. Maybe, admittedly, they'll do more of her character in the next films, but in this film that's all we got, a toy. The other thing that I didn't really like was that it was copying quite a lot of The New Hope, and to be honest, just all the Star Wars. There was elements of A New Hope, there was elements of Empire Strikes Back, there was elements of Return of the Jedi. All the Star Wars is in this film. Like, there is a good element of the new stuff as well, which I'm really happy about. I'm glad that the new stuff is in there. There is a lot of nostalgia in this. I guess it couldn't really be helped, but it is kind of absurd how much nostalgia is in this film. What I'm hoping is that maybe J.J. Abrams was thinking about the previous franchise he did, the Star Trek films. And I'll just admit right now, I'm not really a Star Trek fan. It's like, Star Trek is something that it feels like I should really like, and I have tried to watch it a few times, but I don't know, I can't get into it. But I have watched the 2 J.J. Abrams films, and from what I understand from those films, from Star Trek fans that I'm friends with, is that the first film, the one just called Star Trek, that was all new stuff and people didn't really like it. And then the second film, Into Darkness, that had all the fan service, all the little nostalgia things, and my thinking there is that J.J. Abrams was thinking, okay, for Star Wars, get all the nostalgia in the first one, and then we'll whack in all the new stuff in episode 8 and 9. That's my sort of hopeful thinking. I could be wrong, but that's just maybe what could be going on there. Okay, my non-spoiler thing has gone on long enough. Now time for the spoilers, spoiler warning and all that. You've been warned. Okay, leave, 3, 2, 1. Han Solo dies. As I said before, Han Solo is my favourite action hero character of all time, and this film has made him that and more, which is an incredible achievement. I mean, to me, well, obviously what an action hero is. It's a guy who, is just a normal guy, but he saves the day. He gets beaten up over and over again, but he comes back fighting and he wins. And then the best hero is one who sacrifices himself. He did it in Empire Strikes Back, and he does it again here, but killed by his own son, Kylo Ren, and he tries to reach out to Kylo Ren. Now, there's been a lot of debate whether killing Han Solo was the right thing to do. I've discussed it with many people, and Han Solo being killed, dying, it being the right choice or not, like, I'm sort of 60% no on it being the right choice. I don't think it was the right choice. From a sort of business standpoint, it probably was, because Harrison Ford is You know, he's very old now. He's 73, I believe he is. And he can't be making films forever. And it was probably his personal choice not to do it. And you know, I don't have any problems with that. But the actual handling of the scene from a filmmaking point of view, it was almost pitch perfect. It really was. The whole scene was set up so well. You could see it coming from a mile away that Han Solo was going to die. They walk on a very similar sort of bridge where Luke and Darth Vader fight in Empire Strikes Back. And, you know, you can see, oh, Han Solo's going to die here. The crafting of that scene was so perfect. I mean, you know, the dialogue that was said, you know, Han Solo trying to reach out to his son, and his son saying, you know, I'm torn and I don't want to feel his pain anymore. The light side's taking me this way, the dark side's taking me that way. And I mean, I haven't seen anyone else mention this yet, which surprises me. But I love the... Because what's happening in the background is the Starkiller base is taking the light from the sun, or something, I don't know. And then as that sort of light disappears, that like goes line in line with Kylo Ren and the light side disappearing from him, and then all darkness appears. So perfect, so well filmed. And then Chewbacca like crying and roaring, shooting Kylo Ren. Great stuff. But again, sad that Han Solo died. And this again goes to the debate between Kylo Ren, because Kylo Ren is an excellent villain, I think. You know, he's humanised. You get where he's coming from. He wants to be Darth Vader. You know, he feels, you know, he's trying to be as powerful as Darth Vader. But then where I don't get with him is I don't get why he's doing this. I get, yeah, he wants to be Darth Vader. He wants to be as powerful as Darth Vader. I don't get why. Like, why did he leave Luke's training? Why did he abandon Leia and Han Solo, his father? You know, I don't understand why those things happened. Maybe we'll get it explained in the future films, but I didn't really get his motivations as such. And the fact that he's killed Han Solo, you see, when I saw Kylo Ren earlier in the film, I thought, okay, so the series is probably going to be about redeeming Kylo Ren's soul or something, you know, much like Darth Vader, bringing him back to the light side. But then the fact that he's killed Han Solo, I don't know if he can ever be forgiven for that. You know, I mean, think about this. In 1997, Star Wars, you know, Darth Vader kills Obi-Wan Kenobi, but we don't really get to know him that well. Yeah, he's a badass character and we did like him. But, you know, when Darth Vader killed him, you know, Darth Vader was just a villain then. He wasn't really anything else. We weren't that connected to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then, to be fair, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes back as a ghost anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But, I mean, killing Han Solo, and, I mean, this is the audience, not just from a storytelling point of view. You know, we've known Han Solo for 38 years, and, you know, we've loved him all this time, and the fact that the villains killed him, I don't think he can ever be redeemed. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think having a completely unredeemable villain is a great thing. You know, for example, the Emperor and possibly Supreme Lord Snoke in this film, they're just, you know, the definitions of evil. They're just being evil for evil's sake. And then the more memorable villains, like Darth Vader, are the ones that are actually people, you know, have emotions, have conflict. And that's what I think Kylo Ren's going to be. But for him to have emotional divides, but then also be unredeemable, I think there could be some good stuff there in the future films, if it's done right. Again, we don't know, because we don't have the future films yet. Okay, I've talked enough about the villains and stuff. I don't know, I'll talk more about Supreme Lord Snoke. Yeah, he was by far my least favourite part of the film. Like, when we first get introduced to him and he is this fucking giant, like, I said, what the fuck is this shit? Like, you know, it's like, is he literally a giant in the final film? Are we going to have Luke facing off against this giant Sith Lord? It just seemed like total bollocks to me. And I was so relieved to find out that he was a hologram. Like, if we don't understand Kylo Ren's motivations, we know nothing about Supreme Lord Snoke. Hopefully we'll learn more about him. I remember someone saying that it could be like a Wizard of Oz kind of vibe, where he appears all big and mighty and powerful, and it turns out he's not at all and he's actually really small, which I could see working really well. I mean, Andy Serkis plays him, and he was very underused in this film, and I'm sure he could do a lot more with him in the future films. Okay, I've talked a lot about the negatives. Let's talk about the things I loved. I'll talk about my favourite scene. My favourite scene is Finn and Poe escaping the Star Destroyer. That was some brilliant stuff. One of the complaints I heard about this film was its lack of action scenes. This was, in my opinion, the best action scene. Poe and Finn are escaping the Star Destroyer, and it's very similar to Han and Luke escaping the Death Star in A New Hope. But then there's a little twist in there. So they're escaping, you know, kind of pretending to be hostages and all that. And then they get in a TIE fighter, like, okay, well, let's go. They take off, and the TIE fighter's stuck on a rope. Not only was it my favourite laugh of the film, it was hilarious, but it was so like refreshing to see that. You know, we think, oh yeah, the escape thing, like when the Millennium Falcon escapes the Death Star. That little simple thing just added so much humour, so much suspense and tension, but in this, you know, great fun, humorous scene. There was some great stuff, and it was, like I said, my favourite scene in the film. One of my other favourite scenes in the film is a non-Jedi character using a lightsaber. This was a genius decision, and well done whoever did it, you know. Don't have to give J.J. Abrams all the credit. It takes a lot of people to make a film, but whoever's decision it was to use have a non-Jedi character using a lightsaber, genius decision. You know, one of the main complaints of the prequels was that, you know, the lightsaber fights were far too choreographed and much more like dances than fights, and there was no tension in them. But then having Finn just like swing this lightsaber like a cricket bat, just like knocking guys over, absolutely fantastic, genius idea. You know, made these lightsaber fights tension-filled and suspenseful again. Just brilliant stuff. And like I heard some people say, oh, I thought only Jedi can use lightsabers. That was never established in any of the films. No one ever said that. They say Jedi use lightsabers. They don't say only Jedi can use lightsabers. I mean, they are just like sticks at the end of the day. Anyone can hold a stick. Han Solo uses a lightsaber in Empire Strikes Back to cut open the Tauntaun. It smells bad on the outside, or whatever he says. Talking about lightsabers again, I love Kylo Ren's tri-cross lightsaber, and I love that he actually used it practically when he burns Finn's shoulder, twisting it, and that was brilliant and pretty violent for a Star Wars film. Another great scene in this film is the very first scene where the stormtroopers invade that little village, and it was my sister's favourite scene, when Finn's, you know, seeing all the stuff that the stormtroopers are doing, and then someone smears blood in his face. You know, that was just like a great bit of symbolism. Like, you know, we always see the stormtroopers, you know, in their shiny white, and you know, in the previous trilogy, they were just there. You know, that they were, you know, they couldn't shoot anything, and they were just enemy henchmen soldiers because they had to be. But in this, you know, Finn and us, the audience, you know, sees the dirty side of them, you know, sees them killing these innocent people, and saying, you know, that they're not squeaky clean light, they're just made to show that way. You know, what they're doing is bad, and the fact that Finn, a stormtrooper, realises that, and you know, the fact that they've humanised the stormtroopers is a brilliant touch and another great decision from someone who worked on this film. Something else that I really liked in this film, just a very small detail which sort of cleared up some of the lore of Star Wars. The prequels established that the stormtroopers are all clones, which, you know, is a bit, okay, you know, we just assumed that they were, you know, people who, you know, wore this armour. And then there's a line, I forget who says it, but says, oh, maybe we should use a clone army. So, I mean, what I gathered from that in terms of the Star Wars mythos and the Star Wars lore is that, you know, there is a mix of clones and normal people in this stormtrooper army. I just liked that little detail in there. I thought it was some nice stuff, and the only mention of the prequels. In the spoiler section, as you can tell, I'm just sort of talking about things I really liked, things I really didn't like. Okay, another thing that I really didn't quite like, I can't pronounce her name, Lupita Nyong'o, I think is how you pronounce her name, who played, I don't remember the character's name, but I'm just going to call her Orange Female Yoda, because that's what she is. And yeah, like, I'm just sort of surprised at the fact that they felt like her character was necessary, because it was basically just a new Yoda, but who wasn't a Jedi and looked pretty fake. Like, I mean, the CGI I suppose was kind of good, but the fact that they went back to so much practical effects in this film, which was an amazing choice. I love that everything on Jakku was practical. So then when we do have CGI, it kind of stands out quite a lot. Like Supreme Lord Snoke is a CGI as well, forgot to mention that. But yeah, Orange Female Yoda, you know, it was very obviously CGI, it looked a bit prequelish, and the fact that it was just kind of a carbon copy of Yoda, but then they said not a Jedi as well, and I don't know, I just really don't know about this character. Like, arguably it could have been better if Rey just had this a self-discovery journey on the Force, which he kind of does in this carbon copy of the cave scene. No, it's not a carbon copy, but there is a cave scene. Like I say, elements of all the Star Wars films in this film. You know, elements of Empire, the bridge scene with Vader, Luke, but instead it's Han and Kylo Ren. The cave scene, Rey has the cave scene. Return of the Jedi, they need to take out a shield generator, then they need to take out the Death Star. All the Star Wars in this film. But yeah, orange female Yoda, I don't know, is basically what I'm trying to say. Like, it felt unnecessary, I think is the best way I can define it. Like I said before, I thought all the acting performances were excellent from everybody. The only person who was really questionable was Donald Gleeson as the ginger Nazi First Order guy. Like, he was a bit over the top, and to be honest I haven't heard too many complaints about that, and I didn't mind it. I didn't really think about it when I was watching it. But yeah, Donald Gleeson is this Nazi thing. Like, the only thing that went through my mind was the scene, you know, from the trailer where like they're all stood and it's like, oh yeah, the Hitler symbolism here. In the original trilogy, the sort of Nazi Hitler symbolism, it was just symbolism. Like, it was just kind of subtle, like, oh yeah, I see, this is meant to be like Nazi Hitler. But then in this film they just went full on Nazi Hitler. Just like, no subtlety here, this is what we are. And I was just like, okay, a bit in the face, but okay. Oh, Luke Skywalker. I haven't mentioned Luke Skywalker. And that's because he's basically not in the film. Like, I mean, you know, he wasn't in the trailers, and there was the thing that everyone was speculating about, like, where's Luke, where's Luke, what the hell is going on with Luke? And the fact that the first line in the crawl text is Luke Skywalker has disappeared was brilliant. You know, the whole marketing campaign was based around that, where is Luke, where is Luke? And it's like the film's about that as well. And that was really good. But the fact that he wasn't really in the film, he doesn't have any lines, and he's in the film for about 15 seconds, you know, I was just like, I want more Luke. And I suppose that's really good, because I mean, like, if I was watching this film on Netflix and I had episode 8 on it right afterwards, I would have watched it straight away. Like, I was begging for more when this film finished, which is good. Like, I'm glad I want more. Okay, I have a million more things to say, really, but I think I'll end it there because I've been talking for a million hours, and no one's gonna watch past the 2-minute mark anyway. If you did stay for this long, thanks very much for listening to me talk about Star Wars for an hour, because that's really nice that people like actually want to hear that. So thank you very much for watching. Honestly, thank you very, very much for watching, and see you later.